Welcome back to Diamonds 2020. I'm so glad that you could come. Diamonds 2020 is a free online conference for chronically ill Christians, and I hope that you can be encouraged by this and that you have already been encouraged. We're almost about halfway through the conference. We had some awesome sessions yesterday by Kara Swanson, Kamala Paquette, Christy Johnston, and we've had some awesome sessions today. But right now, we're going to go into the session by Hailey Rose. She is an author and a blogger, and she suffers from chronic illness, as do most of the conference speakers. And she's going to be talking about sibling relationships in the midst of chronic illness. And that is a tricky topic that I definitely need to learn from. So I can't wait to hear what Hailey has to say. First, real fast, if you haven't yet downloaded your free copy of the Diamonds 2020 study guide, you can do so. There's a link in the description of this video down below. Or you can order your paperback copy if you prefer to write in it or underline or whatever it is. There's a description that it's also in the description of this video. There's a section for every session, and I hope that you don't miss out on that, because we want you to be able to enjoy the conference long after it's done and be encouraged long after it's over. So hopefully the study guide can help you with that. We are going to be, yes, so we're going to go on to sibling relationships. Just a reminder, we do a giveaway at the end of every session, so if you haven't already entered, you can do that. Also down there at the website link and scroll all the way to the bottom, it's there. There's also a schedule if you want to see what sessions are coming up so that you don't miss the ones that are most applicable to you. And yeah, let's turn it over to Hailey. Hello, I'm so sorry about that. I see that some of you can't hear it. We're going to try this again. Thank you so much for your patience and understanding.
Hi everyone, my name is Hailey, and I am so excited to be talking to you about how to handle relationships with siblings when you have chronic illness. And if you can hear my siblings, they're being very loud right now, so I apologize, but it's all part of it. Anyway, so I'm excited to be talking to you guys about this. I am the oldest of 7. I have 5 younger brothers, 1 younger sister, and that's a lot of people. um Siblings aside, that's just a lot of people to have to deal with. So I am by no means a professional at this, nor do I know all the answers, but I do have several years of experience with chronic illness, and I've been living with my siblings that entire time. So I have learned some things along the way that I'm excited to be able to share with you. So before we get started, I would love to open us in prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for this opportunity to talk to all these wonderful people about how to manage relationships with siblings when there's chronic illness involved. I think sibling relationships are challenging in and of themselves, and then adding chronic illness to the mix just makes it all the more challenging. So I pray that throughout the entire conference, we all have open minds and open hearts, and that we hear the things speakers are teaching, even if we don't want to hear them necessarily. Um, yeah, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Amen. All right, so as I said, my name is Hailey. I'm 21 years old. To give some background, I have a genetic connective tissue disorder called Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome, and that uh, Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome is a collagen defect in your body. So collagen is what holds the body together. It's like the glue. And with EDS, that collagen is defective and it does not work very well. So there's a lot of things that kind of snowball after EDS because of that. Um, I guess mistake. It's not a mistake, and God knows what he's doing, but because of that difference in the genetic makeup. So after EDS and things that I've also been diagnosed with are POTS, PCOS, chronic migraines, alopecia areata, which is an autoimmune disease, and some bizarre GI stuff that we still have not figured out completely. The other completely unrelated thing that I have to EDS is a very, very rare bleeding disorder. So my blood doesn't clot correctly or properly. Um, so I don't really have many like daily issues with that. It's just kind of something that is in the back of my mind all the time. So yes, alopecia areata. I did want to say it's kind of funny. Alopecia is where your hair falls out in circular patches around your head, and I've lost about 2/3 of the hair on the back of my head, so the front is fine, but the back is a disaster. And you can see probably in the camera, I get these little like 2-inch growth spots, and they're not laying down, and they just want to keep growing up. So I'm just going to be grateful that the hair is coming back and then I'm not going to have bald spots forever. But if you see my little horns, that's what that's from. So anyway, I don't know how you're not going to be able to hear my siblings because they're being so loud right now. All right. Also, yes, I am in my room. I love my purple walls too. Thank you very much. And this is my recliner, which is where I spend the majority of my day because I'm able to work mostly from home and I do school here. But this recliner is very old, and so I have to have some additional back support because it's kind of broken down. But we're sitting here. So also, computer is in front of me, and I don't have my glasses on because the ring light is like blinding and reflecting off the glasses. So if you see me like bending forward, that is why, so I can read my notes. All right, let's get into this. So, as you know, being anywhere in the family lineup is difficult when you have chronic illness. For me and several other people I know with chronic illness, being the oldest throws a whole nother spin on that. So I will touch on that as well, just because I obviously have the most experience with that. But I do know anywhere else in the family lineup, it's also a challenge. So if I'm speaking more about being the oldest, I'm not talking about oldest specifically. That's just what I have experience with and what I'm comfortable talking about. So, um, one of the biggest challenges that I have run into with sibling relationships is my siblings expect me to be in charge. This could be just because I'm bossy, and I've always kind of been the one that like takes charge and takes care of things and gets it done. But I think it also has something to do with I I haven't, and this is my bad, I haven't given them opportunities to like be in charge of themselves or for themselves if parents are gone or whatever. I tend to like organize everything, which is not good. But that has been a big change. And I think that also has something to do just with my siblings getting older, as we all are. When we were younger, everything's so much easier. But now that we are older, young adults, and supposedly adults, I don't know who thought 21 years old was old enough to be an adult, but apparently I am. That is something that's been challenging with not older than me, ages being older than when we were, in our early teens. Also, younger siblings specifically, I feel like this is kind of a thing, and I don't know how to work through it very well. But younger siblings expect the older ones to be there for them, if that makes sense. I know some of you will know what I'm talking about, but with little kids, 10 and under, I guess, there's a certain emotional availability you have to have for them. And sometimes with chronic illness, I'm not able to be that for them, um, which is really hard. But I also know that, and so I'm a little bit better at, instead of getting irritated when they need me for some emotional something, I'm getting better at not deferring in a bad way, but basically saying, I can't take care of this right now. Can you go talk to mom, or can you go talk to Toby or anyone else? I want to be there for them. But a big part of sibling relationships is realizing that you cannot be everything to them all the time. I think oldest particularly struggle with this. I know I sure do. I want to be everything to everyone all the time, and it's impossible for one thing. It's even more impossible with chronic illness. So that's one part of it. Um, Also, I have something else I've experienced is having a brother who's 2 years younger than me. Um, he and I have had to learn together that sometimes I'm not in the best mental or physical state to make decisions, whether that is, do I drive home or does he drive home? Do we go dancing tonight or do we not? Sometimes I am not able to make calls like that. Um, and he's gotten really good at identifying that. And I've gotten better at saying, I can't make this decision. I need someone else to, which usually means probably shouldn't be out of the house. But that is another thing, that it is an adjustment period, especially as you're getting older and becoming adults, like having adult siblings, grown siblings, and little siblings. So that's another consideration. Um, in my family, I have a brother 2 years younger than me. He's 19, 14-year-old brother, 14-year-old sister, 10, 9, and 8-year-old brothers. So I've kind of got a fair mixing of like adult sibling relationships, teenager sibling relationships, and little kid relationships. And it's so very different for each one. And so I want to be able to give you like some little tips and tricks that I've learned for each age group. And just because this works with my siblings doesn't mean it will work with everyone, but there are some tips that just help make life a little bit easier and for everyone involved. Main problem I personally have found with myself and other people that I know is we want to protect those we love, especially our little siblings, from the ugliness that comes from chronic illness that affects our lives. We don't want our siblings to be as affected by our struggles as we are. If we're struggling with whatever it might be so much, we don't want to inflict that on anyone else. And we tend to do a very bad job of communicating. And I'm not saying that, like, I feel like people in general just don't communicate as well nowadays as used to happen. I am guilty myself. Um, but that is something that maybe even if you're not conscious of that, it is a subconscious thing that is happening. So, what if by protecting our siblings from our experiences through illness, we're actually causing them more damage? Kind of a hard thought. Being shut out of someone's life is really hard. I didn't think I was doing that to my siblings. I live in the same house with them. How could I shut them out of my life? I share a bedroom with my sister. I can't shut her out of my life. Turns out you can, and I did. I am famous for putting up this big emotional wall that I can't get over and no one can get in. And that is so harmful, not only to myself, but to those around me, because I am not telling them what I need help with, how they can be helping me. And instead of teaching them whatever I can through the process, I am pushing them away from myself and not allowing them to be a part of my life. Again, I didn't even think that was possible when you're living in the same house with people, but it actually is. It's on different it's on a different degree than if we were living in separate places, but it is indeed there. Additionally, being shut out of people's lives. I have been on the receiving end of that, not particularly because of illness, but it's awful. And I know that sometimes people do that not to be malicious or anything. It's just, it happens sometimes. But it's really, really hard when maybe a close friend starts to push you away and you don't know why or what's going on. It's the same thing with our siblings. If we just push them away without telling them what's going on, that's not a way to communicate. That is not a boundary. That is basically just being rude. Um, which sounds so silly, but I don't want to do that to my siblings, and it took me a long time to realize that that's what I was doing to them. With friends that have shut me out of their lives it hasn't happened very often, but occasionally, especially when I know they're going through something really hard, I want to be able to help, but they won't let me. And I don't know of anything harder than that, because especially in a family, when you know something's wrong, but that person is not going to let you help them, your hands are tied. You desperately want to help, you love them, but they're not letting you. What if we're doing exactly that to our siblings without even realizing it? So, what's the solution to this? Biggest one, communicate. I know communication is key, is such a cliche phrase, but it really is true. I wish there was a better way to say that, but communication really is what has to happen. And with chronic illness, I feel like there is such, when you're tired already, you don't even know what's happening yourself, and now you have to try to explain it to someone else. Sometimes it feels like more effort than it's worth. I think we need to realize that our siblings want to help us. Even if they're tiny and they might not even be able to acknowledge, or not acknowledge, they don't necessarily know, oh, Hailey is sick, she's not feeling good, she can't walk right now. They don't know what that means. They just want to be there for you. They want to help you as much as they can. They want to bring you your water bottle. They want to bring you colorings that they have done. They want to help. If you don't communicate with them, even the little ones, to their ability level, it just doesn't work. And I'm saying this because I have tried this so many times and it doesn't work. So, especially little siblings, they don't need to know everything that's going on. Even the teenage siblings don't need to know everything that's going on. Even the adult siblings don't need to know everything that's going on, because honestly, it is impossible for them to be able to absorb, understand, and retain what you are saying. If we're honest with each other, sometimes we can't even do that for what's going on in our own bodies. Sometimes it's really, really hard to understand what's happening, be able to remember that, and remember, what needs to be taking place, what needs to happen. Sometimes it gets so overwhelming. The only thing we can do is live moment to moment, minute to minute, hour to hour. And we need to not expect our siblings to understand completely, because there is no possible way that anyone but you can fully understand what you're going through. I'm going to say that again. There's no way anyone except you is ever going to be able to fully understand what you're going through. I wish they could, but it doesn't happen. Even parents, I'm really close to my mom. She has a lot of this. She has the same genetic disorder that I do. So we're very similar health conditions in a lot of ways, but even she doesn't know exactly what's going on with me, or what it feels like. And same as I don't know what's going on with her exactly. I don't know what it feels like when she says her legs are hurting. I don't know what it feels like when her knees buckle. Like, I have an idea, but I can't understand it. I don't live in her body. I can't understand that. It's the same thing for us and our siblings. For little kids, sometimes the easiest thing, depending on how little they are, is to say, you know, my little siblings call me Sissy. Sometimes it's easiest to say, Sissy's not feeling good right now. I would love it if you could bring me a water bottle, or if you could bring me my medicine, or if you could bring me a toothbrush. I mean, literally anything. Little kids are so eager to help. They don't need to know exactly what's happening, but just some idea, and give them a way to help, because little kids especially, they want to help but they don't know how, and so sometimes that's more emotional for them to not know what to do but to know something's wrong. So sometimes for little kids, if they bring you a coloring, be really excited about it, and tape it up next to your bed or put it in your journal or something to show them how much you appreciate the fact that they made that for you. Another thing for little kids is sometimes they don't even know how to ask what's going on or what they can do. So sometimes the best thing to do is to, you know, say, hey, you want to come cuddle with me for a few minutes? Or offer to watch a movie with them, on your bed or something. Whatever it might be that makes them feel connected to you and helps you to not shove them out of your life. Because with little kids, especially, I've been guilty of this. I feel like it's all too easy to think, oh, there's no way they can understand this. Why do I even try? But that's not true. It is true that they can understand it, but they want to help just as much as your older siblings do. For the teenage middle year siblings, I feel like that's hardest because they can understand a portion of it, but they cannot fully comprehend to their, I mean, no one can fully comprehend, but you know what I mean. They can't fully comprehend what's happening. So they tend to be a little bit more scared and nervous because they have the years of knowledge. They're 14. They have a couple of years of experience with people getting sick and surgery and all of these things. They know a picture of it, usually based on their own experience, but they don't have the logic and the research to back it up. So they tend to be a little bit more on the fearful side, which is hard. So, I've had to convince my siblings multiple times that I'm not dying. It's okay. I'm going to be fine. I just don't feel good today. That's that middle gap is difficult. Um, Again, same thing though. Give them ways that they can help you. So maybe it would be helpful if they could make you some breakfast or bring you coffee, or maybe they would want to do some laundry or help mom do laundry for you. Anything that you can give them that will help them. I mean, sometimes, honestly, I'm looking at my disaster of a bedroom right now. Sometimes it's helpful to have someone help you clean up, because even if you're stuck in one spot for a while, it's hard to, first of all, when you get up, usually, you're trying to go to bed or to the restroom. You don't necessarily have time to pick up. So having someone available, an older kid, because little kids are not very helpful in the putting things away department, but an older kid, to be able to help you put things back where they belong and tidy things up, that's a pretty easy way for kids to help. And usually they're pretty willing, at least sometimes my siblings are, depending on the mood they're in. But yeah, and then if they want to, I've offered for some of my middle siblings to maybe come to doctor appointments with me, just so they feel more part of my life rather than pushed away from it. So that has been a good option. They usually don't want to come to doctor appointments. I don't blame them. That means sitting in a waiting room, but that is an option. For older siblings, I feel like this is like driving age and up, 16, 17, 18 and up. they can be the most helpful because they understand better what's happening. They have the logic behind it to not be freaked out about everything, but they still don't, they cannot comprehend, nor should we expect them to, exactly what's happening. For instance, my 2 years younger than me brother, he is so amazing at helping me with whatever it is I need help with. Um, Over the years, I've learned what my limitations are. So I have stopped trying to carry heavy bags of groceries. I have stopped trying to carry the big, heavy Costco boxes that they load up that are like 50 pounds. I've stopped trying to carry those because I end up hurting myself when I do that. And so instead of like teasing and being like, oh, I bet you can't carry that, or come on, Hailey, you can do that, there's none of that. There's none of that anymore. It's, we don't even really say anything. I will usually leave the heavy stuff for him and then I'll carry what I can. So it's not necessarily like a competition, it's working together. Older siblings also are helpful and easier to talk to because, again, they're older, they have that fewer emotions, more logic when it comes to explaining what's happening. So, especially for like surgeries and procedures, my older brother, oldest younger brother, he will ask for details usually before I have a procedure or a surgery. Usually because he wants to know how dopey I am going to be when I get home. So, he's like, okay, are you going to be completely drugged up or are you going to be able to walk on your own feet? But usually he wants to know more details, just so he knows best how to get stuff ready, and how he can best help me. Again, sibling relationships are challenging enough without the extra wrench of chronic illness. It's just more exciting. But I think something to really keep in mind is that your siblings really do want to help. They are probably scared. They don't know what's happening to you. They know that you're not able to keep up with them like they used to. You might not be able to play tag. You might not be able to run around. Anything, they're going to notice changes. And so if something drastic changes in your life and how you relate to them and what you do with them, they're going to notice. And it's not a bad thing. It's something that you want to talk about. Something that changed for my siblings is I used to love to go swimming. We live on a lake and I would just swim for hours and hours and hours and we would play in the lake forever. And as much as I would love to do that now with POTS, which is a heart rate and blood pressure thing, I am so close to passing out when it comes to swimming that it's not, I can't be out there for very long. So I've tried to communicate that to the kids as best I can. Hey, my heart rate's being weird. Or I need to go sit down for a little bit, or I need to get out, or I need to get on a floaty and not, play tag in the water, like anything. Just trying to verbalize what's happening helps them to feel more like they're in the loop rather than, oh, I'm just going to get out of the water now. I don't want to play anymore. Because that's probably not true. I do want to play. I just can't. I think one of the biggest barriers for me personally has been I don't want my siblings to have to know what I'm going through. I went through a really, really rough patch in 2017 and then as well in 2019. And a lot of that I didn't want to share with anyone, siblings included. So it seems a lot easier to tell them the bare minimum of what was happening, feeling like I'm protecting them from the ugliness. But at the same time, that's not always a good option. So I'm going to tell you a little story that changed my perspective about all of this. 2019 was starting in April. With EDS, my joints are very loose. And so my SI joint, which is in the back where your pelvis is kind of like this. It touches in the front, and then in the back, there's a bone in the middle here, and it can rotate like this, and it does slightly when a normal person walks, but mine will like get really cattywampus and upside down and like not upside down, but it'll twist itself really weird and like lift up too far, and it's excruciatingly painful because there's a lot of nerves on this area where the bones touch. So starting in April, that pain was started to get exponentially worse. And we weren't sure why it was getting so much worse, but it was unbelievable. Like I could not breathe without pain radiating up and down my back and my right leg. That went on for months. And I'm telling you, when I am hurting that much, I am not a very fun person to be with. I don't like being with myself when I'm feeling that terrible. So I can't imagine what it must have been like, for my siblings. But I think because I know that I'm probably grouchy and cranky, I don't really want to talk to anyone. I tend to shut down and internalize everything, including my own emotions, so that no one else has to bear the brunt of my frustration with my body, if that makes sense. I feel like people with illness kind of understand where I'm coming from with that. So after April, May, June, in June, so that was all going on. April, May, June. At the end of June, I saw a spine specialist. We knew this was EDS related. We just could not figure out how to stop the side of my pelvis from doing this like rotating thing that it would do, which was grating on the bone, and the nerves in that area were just so inflamed. We did not know what to do. So we ended up at a spine specialist, and they tell me that they have this procedure that they do usually on like 80-year-olds. But they have a procedure that they do where they go in underneath the skin, and in the area where that joint is, the SI joint, sacroiliac joint, they burn the nerves that are producing the pain. So therefore, when the nerves are burned, they no longer can sense pain and send pain signals to your brain. So it works pretty well because it's a non-drug way to reduce pain, and they can do it in lots of different areas of the body. So we ended up going forward with that procedure. It was in their office. They gave me a little bit, they started an IV and gave me some, not Valium, what's it called? Versed. They gave me Versed through an IV. And I know I was going to be a little dopey because Versed makes me it's not bad. I come out of it pretty quick, but it usually just makes me sad. So I just start sobbing. But I did not even realize this. I had to wait for 3 weeks to have that procedure for them to get me in. And it was in their office, super easy. Like they told me I'd maybe be there for an hour, pretty quick in and out. I did need a driver though, just because of the Versed. So my dad takes me, my mom knew, what was happening. And I get home that night after the procedure, and it was really hard. Anyway, long story, with EDS, you metabolize meds really fast. So the Versed they gave me was not enough to last through the procedure. So I was in agony as they were putting these enormous needles in my back and burning the nerves. So not fun. So I get back and I'm a wreck. It hurts so bad. The Versed is making me super teary and really sad. And so I come in the house, and I mean, instantly the kids know something's wrong. So I don't even remember what happened the rest of that day. I think I came up here to my room and put ice on my back and just like probably watched YouTube videos. The next day, I was telling my brother about the procedure, and he said, what are you talking about? What procedure? And I realized I had not told any of my siblings that I was having that procedure done. was like, wow, really? Did I actually do that? When I realized that I had done that, I felt horrible because in my attempt to protect them, they felt hurt that I hadn't told them that I was having a little procedure, and they were scared when I came home all sad and crying and in so much pain. The little ones were really scared. They didn't know what was happening. I mean, I know my parents filled them in a little bit, but I felt horrible that I hadn't even told them. First of all, they had no idea that I was in so much pain from my back. They didn't know that the procedure was happening. They didn't know what to expect when I got home from the procedure. Like, I should have told them that. And I felt awful that I hadn't. So that whole experience really changed my perspective when I saw how upset the kids were that they hadn't, that they didn't have, that they didn't know what to do to help me. They were confused and scared, um, and I felt horrible. So that really changed my perspective, um, about what, when, how, and why I talk to my siblings about illness. And I am not a pro this by any stretch, because a part of me still thinks that I am protecting them when I don't tell them. What I've had to learn is that I'm actually hurting them when I don't tell them. I'm not letting them learn with me what God's teaching me. And that's mean of me to do that. Now, do I spill my guts to them and the whole sob story and how frustrated I am at this particular doctor, how terrible, the lady drawing my blood? No, I'm not going to tell them all of that. They don't need to know that. I don't usually I complain to my other friends with chronic illness who understand all of that stuff, but my siblings don't need to know that. Um, but I do now try, I'm not good at it yet. I try to communicate a lot better to my siblings what's going on. So, for instance, this past fall, I had a pretty nasty, um, bout with anxiety and depression, and a lot of things went into that. But that was something that I wanted to talk to them about, but I didn't want to talk about it in a way that would scare them. So, I really actually think I only told my oldest brother. Um, and I just told him, I was like, hey, just so you know, this is what I've been dealing with. So if I seem off, I am. And I'm very much hoping that this passes and that, as I learn to deal with these things, but I just wanted to let you know. And I didn't expect a particular response from him. And that's another big part of this is don't expect your siblings to respond in one way or another. You're not telling them to make you feel better. You're telling them to make them feel better. You're not digging for compliments. You're not wanting your siblings to say, oh, you're so strong, blah, blah, blah. No, you are telling them as a sibling, as a friend, because you have a relationship with them. You don't need to expect anything back from them. You just, even if they say nothing, that's okay. You told them what was going on. They might not know what to say in response, and that's okay too. That's how it was for my brother. He didn't know exactly what to say. And the next day, and he's very much like that. If he doesn't know what he's going to say, he just won't talk. Whereas I'm the opposite. I'll just keep talking until I figure out what I'm going to say. But over the next couple of days, he came back to talk to me and he had a couple of questions. And I really appreciated that. And I'm grateful that he felt like he could talk to me about that because I don't necessarily feel like that's something that we were the best at in previous years. So it's okay to let your siblings see that you aren't always strong. I know how hard that is, especially being the oldest. I tend to not want anyone to see my worst side, I guess. I don't want my siblings to know when I'm not feeling good. I don't want them to know when I'm super nauseous. I don't want to show them any of that because I don't feel strong when I'm like that. They don't need me to be strong, they just need me to be me. Your siblings don't need you to be strong, they need you to be you. Okay? Write that down. That's very important. It's okay to accept their help, even if it's a little scribble coloring from your toddler's sister who made some scratches on a paper. It's okay to be very excited about that. And if one of your siblings does something that's like actually helpful, don't beat yourself up for not being able to do it yourself. And be thankful that you have siblings that are willing to help you. If your sister comes and takes all the sheets off your bed and washes them for you, be thankful for that. Don't be upset that you can't do it yourself. I tend to feel bad whenever people try to help me, and I'm trying to get better at that. Also, illness has a way of humbling us like nothing else, even with our siblings. Unfortunately, it's part of the process, but it is a huge part of it. It's hard to maintain face, I guess, when you are not doing well, I guess is the best way to say that. I don't even know how else to say that, but yeah, hopefully you guys know what I mean by that. Also, have grace for your siblings. They're not going to know what to say all the time. They're going to say the wrong thing. They are not going to be encouraging when you need them to be encouraging. They might say something that comes off as not very nice. Just realize that they are people, they are humans, they are young humans, and they don't have it all together. And neither do you. So have grace for your siblings. It's pretty easy, I feel like, to get frustrated with strangers or doctors who say something stupid that they should know better. Regardless of whether that's right or wrong, it doesn't apply the same way to siblings. Just don't get frustrated with them. They want to help. When you have an older sibling who maybe does things with you, like you're the age that you maybe go to youth group together or Bible study together, or maybe you ski together, anything where you're going to be together a lot, it's important again to communicate what to do in case of an emergency. And I'm talking for more like life-threatening things. So with my bleeding disorder, it's it's only dangerous when I injure myself. So, or if I have surgery. So if I'm on my snowboard and I faceplant really hard and I think I might have given myself a concussion, or maybe I did and I'm knocked out for, that seems dramatic. But anyway, it's an example. If I'm knocked out, my brother needs to know where my emergency medication is to give me so that I don't bleed. Again, case of a car accident, same thing. If a horrible car accident happens and I'm unable to give myself the medicine that I need to not bleed out and have a, horrible brain hemorrhage or intestinal hemorrhage or something, I need someone else to be able to do that for me. And yes, I have a medical bracelet and all that stuff, but the people you're with need to know that. So I always keep that medicine in the same place. When I have my purse with me, it's always in the same place. It's in a little purple zipper bag that says emergency medication. So I never take it out of there. It's always in that purple pouch, which is in my backpack. If I'm snowboarding and I don't have my snowboarding backpack, I will put it in my coat pocket. If I do have my backpack, it's going to be in my backpack, but it's always in that purple pouch. So communicating where emergency medications are is a big deal, as well as in case of an emergency, something that your sibling might need to say to emergency personnel. Something for a lot of people with EDS is when they are being transported or moved, joints can dislocate so easily that being picked up can cause a joint to dislocate. So for some people, they have family members say, please move gently. Frequent, I can't remember the terms. There's terms for it. Frequent dislocations, please move carefully, those types of things. Those emergency type of things are important for any sibling who's old enough to understand. So because my bleeding disorder is what is by far the most lethal of the illnesses that I have, that is something that all of my siblings, as soon as they're old enough, know how to do. So they know where my medical bracelet is. They know which doctor needs to be called in case of an emergency. They know how to administer the medication. They know what to tell emergency personnel when they get there about the medication. So that needs to be communicated very clearly. And that's more for any family member, not necessarily siblings, but anyone you spend time with should know that. Okay, talking about older siblings still. So when I had 2 orthopedic surgeries 2 years ago, I was unable to walk for a little while, and because of EDS, using crutches all the time was not an option. So for longer distances, I had a wheelchair. And my brother was amazing with that crazy wheelchair. He did such a good job of making sure it stayed together. It was one that I found at Goodwill. So he did a good job of making sure it stayed put together and that it was in the best working order possible. So I am grateful for his help with that. And with that, I kind of had to give him permission to work on it because he tends to not really, he won't mess with my stuff unless I ask him to. So I was like, hey, I don't know how to get this wheel to stay on. Do you want to try working on this? And after that, he took over the maintenance of it and keeping it running. He figured out how to fold it up the easiest way. He figured out how to get me in and out of the car with that thing. He was amazing with the wheelchair. And when you're out of the house, man, I feel so scrambled. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm jumping all over the place. I need some water. I don't have any water. Okay. So again, my brother, he's 19. He and I go to Bible study together, and occasionally at Bible study, and I mean, chronic illness is just so unpredictable. Never know what's going to happen, but he knows. I've told him about POTS and if I'm having a POTS episode, what needs to be done. And that's not necessarily like mine is pretty manageable, so it's not a big deal. I just do not feel good when it's happening. So when I'm talking to people in a group like that, sometimes because it's in a big church, if I left my purse, which is probably not smart, but if I left my purse in one area and I'm in a different area, then sometimes I can't get to where my purse is, to where my water bottle might be, or to where my electrolyte tablets might be. Like there's any number of circumstances in there. And so you have to communicate clearly. Hey, I think my heart rate's being weird. That's always because my siblings don't know what POTS means. So I usually say, hey, my heart rate's being weird, or my blood pressure's being weird. Would you go grab my water bottle and my Pedialyte, or would you grab my water bottle, my pulse ox, or just bring my whole purse to me? And usually my brother's he's never not been accommodating, so he's very good about that. And he's always like, do you need to sit in a chair? Do you want to sit on the floor? Do you need to lay down? Like, what do you need? But that has happened only through communication, because the first couple times I had a POTS attack in public, he was like, what's happening? What do I do? So it's not really fair to him to put him in the situation where I haven't equipped him with what to do. So that's my responsibility. I need to make sure that he knows what's happening and knows how to help and what to do. All right. How are we doing on time here? Let's see. Come on. Okay, perfect. All right, let's do a little recap here. So, it's hard to be anywhere in the family lineup when you have chronic illness. I have noticed that oldest siblings tend to have the hardest time with this when there's illness involved. I am one of them. I take on a lot of responsibility that I don't necessarily need to take on, and that makes it all the more difficult to navigate sibling relationships with chronic illness. The biggest problem with sibling relationships and chronic illness is that we don't communicate what we need when we need it. We tend to want to protect our siblings, even though by protecting them, we are not actually protecting them. We're actually causing them more strife and more discomfort than we would if we just told them what was happening to their level of understanding. Um, the solution to this problem is to communicate with your siblings, even if they don't necessarily need or want to hear it. Sometimes it's easy to just say, hey, so I was diagnosed with this such and such, which means such and such. I'm just letting you know about that. And that's sometimes all they need to know. So you're not hiding it. You're also not spilling your guts about it. You're just giving them the facts. Communication really is key. I keep saying that word, but it's so important in any relationship, but especially sibling relationships with chronic illness. Why do I have an eyelash in my eye? Ah. Your siblings probably want to help you, but they are probably scared and don't know what to do. So by communicating with them, you are going to help them to not be as frightened and to give them more confidence. It's okay to let your siblings see that you aren't always strong. Your siblings do not need you to be strong. They need you to be you. And you are not always going to be strong. Accept help, even if it's in the form of a slobbery kiss from a little sibling. Don't expect your siblings to be perfect. They are not. You already know that, I'm sure. Make sure you give them as much grace and mercy as you want to receive from them. All right. I know I'm a little short on time, but that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much for listening, and I would love to hear what you guys do and how you navigate relationships with siblings when there's chronic illness involved. It's a tricky situation to be in, but I would love to talk to you guys about that. You are welcome to talk in the comments here, as well as over on my Instagram. My chronic illness Instagram is Hailey underscore fight for joy. Let me forget my own handle. And then my author account, where I talk about my fiction writing, is author Hailey Rose. That's on Instagram. I also have a website, lakesidepublications.com, and I am on Facebook, but not very often, so I don't recommend that. All right, you guys, thank you so much for having me, and I am so excited to hear from you guys about how you navigate sibling relationships and what things you have found to be helpful. I hope you guys have an awesome day and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you so much, Haley. That was really good. I know that I took lots of notes. Um, so I, well, yeah. So everyone, we have one more session before the lunch break, and that is the second part of Bella Morgenthal's relationship with God session. So we had part one this morning. We now have part two. If you missed part one, you could spend the lunch break going back and watching it. The recorded version is available, or at the end of the conference, go back and see that. So, yeah, thank you so much, Haley. That was awesome. Um, Again, a reminder, the link down there to the conference website is where you can enter the giveaways that we are doing. We're doing one at the end of every single session. over there you can also find the links to the paperback study guide, which is also the links are just in the description. You don't even have to go there, as well as the ebook study guide. The ebook study guide is available for free, and the paperback is pretty affordable, and any of the proceeds are going to funding this conference. Because while we offer the conference and the ebook study guide for free, it's not free to put on. So that's a great way to support the conference while treating yourself to a lovely, pretty book. I might be biased, but I love the cover. um, and yeah, if you also look down there in the description of this video, there's also a link to Hailey's website. If you did not catch her listing them at the end, there's a link down there to make that easier for you. And yes, Hailey's an amazing person, and I think you should definitely check out her stuff. So we are going to go over to the next session. There's a link down in the description, which, as I said, is Bella's second part of her session. But before that, we have a giveaway because giveaways are awesome. And in this one, we're giving away a copy of Embracing Worth, which is provided by Chronic Joy Ministries. If you guys remember Pamela's session from yesterday, I hope that you enjoy it. So the winner of the giveaway is Jenny, and please forgive me, I know I'm going to say the last name wrong. Jenny Wajtawi, something like that. You probably know who you are. So congratulations, Jenny. We will contact you after the conference is over with more information about your giveaway prize. So congratulations. Go ahead and click the link down there, everyone, and I will see you in the next video.